Well, hi. I was just browsing through, and I'm interested in birds and everything, and I've done a lot of work in that area about the ringneck pheasant here in the United States and Canada. It was an imported bird. It was brought over here. Generally tended to be farmed, raised at the beginnings, and then they got into bringing some wild strains over from China directly. There is like trying to restore this bird, and because of its decline. Its decline basically is not necessarily, um, it's by habitat destruction mainly. Most of these areas, and popular in Michigan here, were like loaded with them, primarily due to the dairy farming industry that was like per 40 acres type of thing, and then once they subdivided that out into everything we have today, which is quite extensive, they dropped off. And to restore them, they did some attempts. They did programs like put and take, where they would raise them in captivity and release them back into the wild for the hunting season and things like this. Well, it's also a very extremely strong genetic problem here, because you can release all you want. If you don't have the right genetics in these birds, they are not going to survive. You can do it for a very short time, but you're going to be on a program that's going to continue forever and forever and forever. During my time, we used to produce like 700, 800 pheasants a year. And there's a variety out there of ringnecks. There is one referred to as a blueback, and it is nice size. It is about the size of a wild bird, physically, and it has a bluer back color when you open up the feathers in the back. It's a nice flight bird. It is primarily used on shooting preserves. But again, all these things are produced in captivity. They are not found in the wild. What I have found is, since the pheasant is so prolific, and you only need one rooster per 10 hens and get decent fertility. Say one hen lays one egg per day. That's 10 eggs a day, and all of a sudden you can incubate 100 eggs, by storing them and just throwing them in there. But you want that wild genetics back. And what I used to do is, in the springtime, I would run a live trap along the fences. And because the roosters used to come in, there's always extra roosters out there. They're always looking for the females, and they'll run into traps. And I bred them with with my blueback females, and I produce an outstanding flight bird. Unbelievable, and they can survive in the wild. But the genetics makes all the difference. You've got a much more hyper bird. You've got much more of an intensive flying bird. You've got a bird that is more alert. And I'm surprised you can do that with only 50%, But in the brooding situation, when you have these chicks hatched out, they all pretty much look the same, and you keep track of their genetics. In other words, what I used to do is all the eggs were marked. Every single egg from each rooster, it was tedious, and then they would be all in one tray, and then when that group hatched, it was boxed, and there was no mistakes, and all those chicks would be put into an area, and then I would dip each chick into a food coloring. In other words, yellow would be this rooster, blue, and so forth, whatever the color choices I did have. And then they would be put into the brooders. Then the brooders, they would dry off, and they would, get a little bit bigger. And then by the time they were 6 weeks, you were able to band each one of them. So you could take the wings, and you could spread them, and you could see the coloring, and then you could label it to a band, and then they could attach the band. But by the time they were adults, and you knew, you knew genetically each one of those single birds. That's the key. And I used to sell a lot of them, and but the problem became more apparent is that as you get closer to the wild genetics, production went down. You didn't get as many eggs the next generation, and production wasn't as high. So it became more expensive. Also, the hyperness of the bird that you really wanted to get out there to actually reproduce again required standards that were larger pens, more cover, and you had to go through the debeaking process. Cannibalism would be much stronger. You were dealing with more of the wild. Can't seem to get this point across to anyone, but it does work. And I've seen maybe one or two people in Canada that are actually trapping birds and then moving them to another area, just releasing them, but they're not doing the breeding. I don't really encourage the breeding of this way because you're also introducing some of the genes from the captive bred stuff into the wild. But the main loss of the bird is because of the habitat. So you can do all this you really want to do, and you got a bird out there that's going to darn ass, got its shit together, and the habitat is not completely right. You're still going to lose birds. So what is my point? My point is that genetics change under conditions. It's an evolution. It's a domestic process. When these birds were in my brooders, my wild cross ones from the wild roosters, and like say a light would go out or the heating went out, and the birds would panic. They would. The brooders were only about that high, and they would like bounce. They would just flush. They would like go crazy. And then you would go in there and you would be pulling out the dead ones because they went to this panic because they broke their necks and stuff like that. So what was left, you're actually selecting for the more subdued bird, the less wild type, and that generation would be bred to the next generation and so forth down the road. So you're selecting away from what you really want that's going to survive in the wild. So under captive conditions, you can breed the best looking pheasants you want under the conditions that you think are right. But once that bird, if it's got that genetics in there, and then once you release it, it's not going to make it. It's not going to be able to compete and be able to escape from the predators. You see, it's a form of domestication. Like I'm saying is that what's really good about it is one rooster can mate with 10 females, no problem. You can just throw it in there, but the bird is wild. You got that wild genes. Also, in some other types of pheasants that are more oriental, whatever, or whatever they want to call them, they do have what they refer to as F1s and F2s. First generation from the wild, second generation from the wild. They also do this in waterfowl breeding too. So what generally the person that is breeding this, he wants to stay as close as he can to the original birds. But you can't stay with it forever. Under captive conditions, it is lost. And pheasants are like produced as a poultry on a very large scale. Also, chuckers done the same way, and bob whites are done the same way, well, with some others. Also, the Hungarian partridge is done that way. That's more complicated because they only breed in pairs, and you don't want that problem. But the genetics is always that breeder that is searching for that wild genetic strain to bring it into their group. And that's what I have to say about that. I'm just trying to say, if any of you out there are pheasant breeders, or you're trying to reestablish a population around your house or farms, you're not going to do it by buying captive bred birds. There is one farm, McFarland's, and I have been in contact with them years ago. It's been a while. They do bring in some wild genetics from a strain from China. But as last I heard about them, they weren't selling the pure bird. They were selling the crosses between that and the blueback, which I did buy at that time. I think I bought 100 roosters because they sex the chicks, you know, and you can do it. It's a poultry thing. And they were beautiful. They were gorgeous. Oh man, I mean, nice wide rings on them, and they were just unbelievable. But they just weren't quite as wild as I would like them. They were bigger, they were nice and beautiful. I mean, they were taxidermist specimens. I mean, shit, I could get $25, $30 for an adult bird if somebody really wanted to mount one. But again, you know, it's not no big money because of the feed that goes into it. You know. So, it was a fantastic and lovely hobby, and it was a genetic learning, and it was a practice that I brought from me from when I was at Michigan State. I love the study of genetics. Unfortunately, when I was up there, they did the put and take thing, and I walked into a whole area with a lot of birds. I told my professor, I said, look, Dr. Coleman, I can tell you right now these birds aren't going to work. I knew that within 5 minutes, but that's because I grew up in it, and I just didn't come out of, you know, I just went there. And what I can't understand is why these guys, all these professors that know all the stuff that they want to teach us, all the genetics, all the alleles, all of everything right down, and you gotta get it, and you gotta pass that exam. And when they're out there and doing their little bit of the research or being in charge of this department or that, why aren't they practicing what they're teaching us? That was a profound experience that I still today don't understand. Well, anyways, that whole project has been closed down, and somebody else years later came up with this idea of importing these Sichuan birds from China. I guess he was a young little kid or something. He went and had his first PhD degree or whatever. I don't know what the hell. But he said, "Well, I got an idea. These are related to the ringnecks. They will hybridize between the two. They're actually the same species, but they don't have a ring, and they live in what they refer to as marginal habitat." So he got this brilliant idea, and they went over to China and brought these eggs over, and cost the taxpayers, state of Michigan, $6 million. Yeah, doesn't matter when, whatever, the dollar amount, whatever. But the fact is, what they did is they started crossing them in with these put and take birds, and wasted it. I don't know if they released some pure birds or not. I think that they did. I've actually seen one in a while in perfect conditions, and I could tell that it was released birds, but they never really took as far as, okay, all of our good farm areas have been taken up, so we're going to introduce a bird here that's going to live in marginal areas so we can have hunting there. That was a ridiculous idea, but I mean, not entirely. But to give you an idea here is that McFarland caught wind of this, and they asked Michigan State to, hey, can we have a few of these birds? And Michigan State turned them down. So McFarland, they're the largest breeders of pheasants in the United States and the world, I believe. They are huge. And once they started importing, Michigan asked them the same question. And Michigan told them where to go. So I don't blame them. But you know, pheasant is under a struggle. There are survivors. There are many, many in Detroit, which is very unusual. I don't think it's unusual or not because it doesn't, as it becomes more